Hello, everyone. Back onto our next section here. Hugo Rodriguez Torres, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. So we want to introduce the audience to you. The Hugo Rodriguez has been friends of this conference for quite a while. They've been Plex customers for a very long time and actually manage a separate Plex business, have an application with several dozen customers, and they've taken the lead on doing the Spanish only session, which we've had. I guess this is the third conference that we've had a Spanish only session, and it's been very, very popular with the attendees. And then, of course, we come back in and do kind of a roundup and a regrouping of what basically what they'd like to impart to the rest of our audience. So at this point, I'm just going to turn it over to Hugo and tell us a few words about kind of what went on yesterday with the three different sessions that you had and what you'd like to share with the conference audience.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. This is a wonderful event, a wonderful conference. I think everybody or many people could participate. By now, I will introduce to Hugo Rodriguez Sanchez. He is the general manager from Sodisa. And for me, I let him the speech. Hugo, can you hear me?
So, yeah, I can hear you. Hi, everyone, and good morning. So just to answer that confusion, probably most of you know. So that's my dad, Hugo Rodriguez Torres, and my name's Hugo Rodriguez Sanchez. So I'm now the general manager for Sodisa, so it's now my turn to give out the speeches. So for this conference, it was pretty interesting to have the conference this way, because I feel like more people could attend instead of moving everyone over to Fort Lauderdale or Miami or wherever we want to go, right? But for these Spanish sessions, we had 3 Spanish sessions yesterday, most focused on Plex and web client development. And also there was this really cool session by Alberto Garcia from RACE, or RACE, if you want to say it in English, but the correct pronunciation is RACE, in which he delivered his session was about their own pattern library, which they developed on Plex, which was done probably about 20 years ago, which still works to today. So it's actually pretty cool how something well thought out and well implemented can last for the duration of 20 years without having major problems. And it's also rather interesting regarding Plex as a product, which is kind of the same. A product that's kind of being forgotten, which I hope it's not, but that has been able to withstand all these difficulties despite being not taken care of, if you'd like to say. The other sessions we had, one was tips and techniques to enhance your Plex and web client products, which was delivered by us. It was rather interesting to look at, which our session focused on 2 sides. First, the web client customization, which was creating a Plex grid and transforming it into a calendar view. And I found it interesting because of the process that the team had to go through to get to that spot, like transform a grid into what looks and works as a calendar. And this was developed for our product, which is called Medico RX, which is for medical files and their patients. And the second part of the session was implementation of Power BI dashboards on Plex, embedded on Plex. And that was given out by Ramon Castillo, which is our product manager. And it was also interesting because people don't, I feel at least originally, people don't understand the importance of having data and being able to work with that data and understand the data from your business. And it's really cool to implement it on our Plex product, because now people, our clients, could look at any of their information regarding their financial status and any monetary decisions they need to make. They could do that with our Power BI dashboards. And finally, the last session, which was REST API basics with HSync, was more of a general description of how REST APIs work, general concepts, general guidelines. I try not to delve into too much of the technical side, because I feel like REST APIs are kind of difficult to start like as a conceptual thing and then start building it up, making sure your security is right, your sessions are doing okay and everything. So I try to just focus on the basics, and then we showed an example using HSync, which is a product developed by CM First, to create a REST API from the Plex model. And this facilitates the creation of other interfaces, front-end interfaces in this case, if you have already your API developed from your already developed Plex product. And it's really cool. We've been working with that to also implement our product of medical for the medical files in mobile, in web responsiveness, and everything else. And finally, this session, which is me recapping this, thanks to Mark for inviting us out to hold this session. It was pretty cool. Yesterday, it was pretty fun, I feel. And I don't know, Mark, if you would like me to comment on anything specifically.
Yeah, I think the gist of the fact that we do things, the idea originally for having a local language separate track, was simple. That we've got people who have expertise in TUI and Plex, and they might be more comfortable presenting in their own language and their own dialect. I do know that we've done events in Europe before where, the Germans go off and they do their own thing, and the Italians go off and do their own thing, and the French and so forth and so on. And due to time zone differences, it was hard. We tried to get that organized this year. Also, even if it was done, early for us in the U.S., it didn't really matter. The idea is that we letting people feel comfortable in their own environment and talking about their own business and in a language that's easier for them to communicate. But then kind of bring it back to the larger audience to say, what do you think that you learned about Plex that could make a difference, or that could be transferable to other people, other pit crews and other people. And we love your cat, man. What kind of a cat is that?
Oh, she's just a white cat, but she just got spayed, so she's wearing this little suit I made from a t-shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my little kid. So yeah, back to your question. I feel like I've always had, and this is just personal, a love-hate relationship with Plex. And because I feel like there's a bunch of technologies that also have the same, probably don't have the same robustness, but have a faster development cycle for some of the, depending on the implementation of the product you're gonna do. But I feel like looking at these sessions, especially the Alberto session regarding their own pattern library, was really interesting to see that they built up an interesting model and concept of how they would work things out. And it works still, which you can't say from most other technologies. Probably other technologies just died out during the whole, I don't know, what, 10, 15 years life cycle for each. So that's pretty cool regarding Plex, that it still works and it's still pretty good to like build up something really quick and make it work, and you can see it work in what, an hour probably, I could not do that, but probably the experts could.
Thank you. Hey, at this point, I'd like to open it up to people who were in the Plex track yesterday. If they've got any questions for Hugo, and just because you weren't in the regular track yesterday too, so there were a lot of things there. You know.
Yeah.
Roger, how about
to...
when you kick things off? Tell us about one thing that, you know, you learned about Plex yesterday that was unique or different.
Roger's missing.
I have a hunch that Roger's probably on his way back to his house. They were having an emergency. He said his internet provider was having an emergency. They have crews out there and so forth to do that. He went over to his daughter's home evidently. So.
Oh, okay.
To do that.
Yeah. So, but just giving out some insights on the sessions. I don't know. I feel like the language barrier kind of sucks a bit for some of the people that like, at least for myself, I know I could speak English, but some of the developers over here in Honduras and maybe originally don't or cannot. So it's really cool that we can create this Spanish track for people to do that. And also, I'd like to just let us know that if you need any help or any, I don't know, any projects on Plex or Web Client, we can work this out. There's probably even more companies that could do that as well regionally. And it's great that we've been working with CM First a bunch now. And I feel like probably the nearshoring works a lot for you guys regarding that there's a lot of people that know how to use Plex, how to develop in Plex, how to use Web Client and new technologies. So it's really cool having this opportunity to speak for the Spanish speaking people. And I thank you, Mark, and I thank you, Roger. I know you're not here, but might see the recording. Thank you for the opportunity, and the whole Plex community has done a great work on this conference. I missed the hermit crab races and the drinks, but I don't know. I just want to say thank you, and thanks everyone for attending. And I hope you've had a great sessions on Thursday and for today on the labs.
Well, thank you, Hugos, and to the people at Sodiza. It's some of the people in the audience and the PIC crew are aware that we use you as a nearshore component of our professional services delivery, and it's important with our people and giving the customer the advantage of you know, Sodiza performing work, and then having our CM First people providing oversight and so forth on the project to make sure that we've got continuity and working things out there. I see Roger's trying to get back in to the conference here. We're trying to let him in. So
I'm finally back on. I had to come back home now that my internet came up, so had a little drive time there.
Okay. So Roger, one question I had for you, probably didn't hear because you were in transit.
Yep.
So Hugo talked a little bit about what the three talks were. As you who were in the Plex conferences yesterday, what do you have for Hugo? Because Hugo wasn't there, even though he's a Plex guy. He was in the Spanish track, not in the Plex track during the day. And you said you learned a lot. You learned a few things. So
Yeah.
What do you think was significant and is worth imparting back to kind of people in the
Yes.
might not have heard that message yesterday?
Let me give you the highlights of the sessions I thought were the most meaningful. So we had like 6 sessions, and the one that was the most meaningful was all 6 of them. okay, let me give you some highlights of what I got out of each of them. So Jeremy did a presentation on standards layer, and he's done a whole lot of stuff that he's added to their standards layer that are just absolutely mind-boggling. They're so good. And some of that stuff he's going to actually take and export into an XML file that we can import into our Plex models. Just as an example, Plex, we all use this date picker, right? And most of us use the one that kind of originally was used by the patterns, and it's kind of clunky. It's not very good, but it works, right? We've just been living with it. But Jeremy's got this really radical date picker that he showed us, and I asked him if he would make it available to everyone, and he offered to do that. So, I mean, that alone justified the whole conference for me, because everyone uses a date picker, right? You use it in all your applications. It's just tremendous. But he had a whole bunch of other stuff that he showed us that was really just smart and just real value add-on to your applications. There was a lot of stuff in the tips and techniques session that a lot of people didn't know before. I think everyone who attended that session learned some new things. And even if you just get one new thing out of it, it can justify the whole conference. But I think most of us got several things. So that was great. We talked about migration from C++ to Java or C#. And that was very interesting because we kind of got some input from various people who have done it. And, for me personally, I've always been thinking that, well, .NET, we got to take our applications to .NET, but I'm starting to rethink that. I'm really thinking what we really should be doing is taking it to Java and then using a web client. I'm really kind of leaning in that direction as far as a long-term solution. But it was really good to have that session to just, hear from the people who have done it and, get some success stories. And so anyway, so that's kind of given us some direction on how we go forward. That's probably the direction we're going to go long term. Because at some point, we can't ride the C++ train forever, right? I just feel like we're probably going to have to, do something different. But the question is what is that path? So for us, probably Java with a web client. Kiyoshi showed us some great things for different creative things that they're doing with Plex. And I just feel like, the good news is all of those sessions are recorded. So anyone who did not get a chance to attend all 6 of them, watch the recordings because they were all great. There wasn't a clunker in the whole group. Sometimes you go to these things and, you get a few clunkers that are just they're not really relevant for what you're doing. That was not what we had yesterday. I think yesterday was relevant. Every one of the sessions were relevant. They were meaningful. There was great content. So anyone who was maybe in another track that wasn't able to see the Plex stuff, absolutely watch those Plex sessions because they were tremendous.
So here, Roger, I just wanted to interject. A couple of people have asked about recordings.
Yep.
And sessions. So yes, the sessions are all being recorded, and then over the weekend, once the conference is concluded, we'll be doing that. We usually do some editing and just some cleanup on those videos, but they will be made out onto the plextui.com website. They'll be available next week. And so, so just sit tight if you had to go out or whatever, or felt like you missed one of the sessions, then you'll still have that. And everyone, no matter if you're a Plex or TUI person or both, you have access to all of those sessions. And I also want to comment yesterday on the technology sessions too. We had a total of 9 different technology sessions, and again, the people coming together and putting really valuable, impactful things out there that are possible for you to implement inside your own organization. That to me is the essence of community, right? We're collaborating, we're looking out for each other, and also, there's also some healthy skepticism or workaround too when it's warranted about what needs to happen, what needs to happen going forward. So I think at this point, we'll just end this area